What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the GoBundance Podcast, where we feature GoBundance members and talk about their path to being a whole life millionaire. I'm your host, Jamie Gruber, and today we welcomed in one of our younger GoBundance members, who's actually a champion member. That is Kevin Mills. Kevin has built an amazing real estate empire down in the Carolinas. Again, he's a young guy, just turned 30, and you're going to hear today how he's built a 7-figure annual income vertically at just 30 years old, how he's created a 16,000 person database in his real estate business. And how that database has led him to selling 190 plus homes in a year and being the #1 Century 21 agent in the world. How he did all of that by himself with 2 assistants, not a whole team of people. Unbelievable story of consistency and how he applies certain principles and certain tactics that are really just sort of tried and true methodologies in order for him to build his business and continue to scale and create now horizontal income in the lifestyle of his dreams. You'll hear about his dream home and some other, extravagance that he hopes to get into once he hits a certain number. All of that and so much more in an amazing interview with Kevin Mills. Make sure you like, subscribe, drop a comment, let us know what you took away. But until then, enjoy all of the wisdom from Kevin Mills. Kevin Mills. Kevin, welcome, brother.
Thanks so much for having me, man. I'm excited to hop on this call and deliver some value.
Yeah, and I know you will. I know you will for sure. Let's dive into your story, your background. You're a pretty young GoBundance brother. I mean, compared to most of the guys, or maybe compared to me, but you're a pretty young guy.
Yeah.
You've had a lot of success early on. Give us your story. Are you from South Carolina? Kind of take us through your story through today.
Yeah, so I'm from Asheville, North Carolina. I was born into a family that was really lower middle class. My mom was a teacher. My dad worked a cash register at a gas station for my entire life. Had a gambling problem, so definitely didn't come up with much financial literacy kind of growing up. So grew up there. I went to the University of South Carolina, where I met the love of my life and my wife. She got pregnant our senior year of college. So I had to rush through college super fast and completely kind of change my lifestyle there. She said, I have to move to Myrtle Beach because that's where my family's from. So I was forced into moving to Myrtle Beach to be a dad, and really life just took off from there. So my initial job, I got into car sales. So got a 4-year degree just to sell cars for about 6 months, and eventually got tired of that and was tired of people kind of rejecting my product. I wanted to be in an industry where they had to reject me. So I got into real estate. I felt like I could sell myself really well. So what industry could I get in that was sales oriented, where I kind of control my own income? And that was in real estate. I kind of jumped from the start to the end really fast there. But since then, I've been in real estate and been surrounded by some really wealthy individuals in the real estate world that have been just great mentors for me. So it's helped me progress. Yeah, I just turned 30 years old, so new to that 30 club. I think I was at the Champions event in Tahoe, and I was the youngest one in there by a bit. But I love being the youngest one in a room, and just get a ton of value out of being at the event. So stoked to be here, and that's just kind of the fast version of where I'm at now.
I love it. Talk a little bit about, so you went to college. Was that unique for you in your family, given the background that you mentioned your parents had? Was that or were you a first generation kind of college kid?
Yeah, so my brother is a pastor. So he went to college, and then he did his master's degree and he did his doctorate degree. So for him, I did have somebody who went to college before me, but yeah, other than my mother, I was the second generation to go to college, and skip that part of the story pretty fast. But I would say that college years were really integral. I met a girl and was introduced to her family, and she came from Charlotte, North Carolina, and had some really big old family money. And I was able to have some really big financial conversations with her dad and with her family that really changed my mindset just in regards to where I want to be in my future. I went to college as a jazz trumpet major, which I know sounds ridiculous. I haven't played trumpet since I was 18 years old. I dropped it. I was there for a month. I had a scholarship just on a jazz trumpet scholarship, and somebody came in and played that was way better than I thought I would ever be at playing music. And so that night I met with her, and she's like, you should really talk to my dad about this and my family. So I did, and they convinced me to be a doctor. like in that one day. So I dropped my major the next day and started in biology, failed that entire semester because I couldn't do any science courses. I was horrible at school. I was a D plus, C minus. I was one of those that just really got pushed through the whole middle school, high school, college, and eventually ended up getting my degree in business. But yeah, I think that college was integral for me. I had some really good conversations with a lot of good people. I met some really good business people, but that relationship I had with that girlfriend before I met my wife, her family really shaped me and really gave me some great ideas of kind of wealth and how to build it.
Interesting. What about your father? What lessons did you learn from him, either through observation or maybe things that he told you? I don't know what that relationship looks like today or did then, but yeah. I'm kind of curious. You mentioned gambler, sort of worked in a I call it a blue collar type of environment. What did you extract from that, and how is that manifested in your life today, if at all?
Yeah. So my dad was an extremely hard worker. So he was one that woke up at 4 a.m. He went to his job at 5 a.m. He worked 5 a.m. to 3 p.m. He came home for 3 hours, took a nap, and then went back to work from 6 o'clock to midnight. And then we lived in Asheville, which isn't far from Cherokee, North Carolina. So then he'd spend that 3 or 4 hours driving to Cherokee and gambling. So he was a hard worker. He worked 7 days a week. So I definitely get my work ethic, I believe, just from watching him go to work every single day. But I realized from a really early age, he wasn't working smart. Because he kept putting in all these hours and was constantly working, but we went without a lot as a kid. So we definitely had some difficult conversations growing up through that. He'd had a pretty bad gambling problem. Every time he made money, he'd go out and gamble it away. And sometimes he'd win, sometimes he'd lose. So there was a roller coaster there. It got to the point where at some point they had like the illegal poker machines, like in the gas stations that he was in. And my dad almost faced like a pretty serious jail sentence because he got caught with these illegal poker machines in the back that the customers were coming in and playing. But yeah, me and my dad are super close now. But I would say that I didn't have any kind of financial literacy toward him. I'd say that we were pretty distant from the age of maybe 10 to 17 or 18. Just because he wasn't really around that much. I kind of had some hate against him for that. And I knew that my mother and him had some financial stress and he was gambling. So I got to that age where I really resented him somewhat. And I remember having some really tough financial conversations with him, just saying, well, if you wouldn't do this, then we'd be able to afford blank, whatever that would be. And I was 10, 11, 12 years old saying that. So we definitely had our hard times kind of come from it, but now we're super close. My mom and my dad moved down here as soon as we had our first child, me and my wife, Kaylee. So they're grandparents that just watch our kids every day. So I'm super lucky and super blessed on that end. But I definitely learned a lot of lessons growing up from kind of watching his mistakes.
No kidding. That's awesome too, that they get to play grandma and grandpa now. Yeah, you talked about car sales, and then, you didn't want people rejecting the product. You wanted them rejecting you. It's just kind of a quick question, and then I have a follow-up, but was real estate the obvious choice, or did you have some other options you were considering other than real estate sales to fit that need of, I want people rejecting me?
Yeah, so real estate was the obvious choice for me because I just looked at other sales type jobs. So I never wanted to be in sales. My goal was to graduate college, move to Charlotte, and end up buying a business there and running a business. That was my overall goal. And then out of nowhere, I got moved to Myrtle Beach. I had to become a dad at 21 years old. I just turned 21 when we had our first daughter, and I had to provide for my family. So I looked up on Indeed.com kind of what's hiring right now. And the only thing I kept seeing were car sales. So I just went in and did it. And my first month, I didn't do that well. And every month after that, I broke the store record for number of cars sold. I did a really good job, but I was pounding pavement every day. I was there at the asphalt, just waiting for people to drive up and trying to get them to buy a car. But I heard enough of, hey, Kevin, we loved you, but we just preferred a different car, that I realized I needed to get into something where if they loved me, they were going to go with me. And it wasn't based on a particular product I was selling. And so when I started doing that research, real estate was the only thing that kind of came up. So I just Googled best real estate company in the area. I had one meeting with the owner of the company and I joined up from there. I mean, it was a pretty spontaneous move on that behalf, but it's really worked out super well for me. I love what I do. I'm passionate about it. And it's let me really be around a lot of people who are really wealthy based or off of owning real estate, off of selling real estate, and just other ventures that they're kind of in. So I get to learn from my tight group of friends here in the ages of 50 to 70 years old. So, I mean, I'm the youngest by 20, 25 years on that end. So I'm able to really, really learn from their wisdom and kind of where they've been at the last 20 years of their life.
A lot of wisdom in you for even looking for that. Most guys at your age wouldn't be thinking about, hanging out with 50, 60, 70-year-old guys. So that's incredible. You talked about people loved you, but didn't want to buy that particular car. So one question I have is, why did you still, you mentioned, you were there pounding the pavement out in front, but is there anything else that you attribute your record setting month over month sort of car sales to? Is there anything else that you developed or learned or thought was effective as a salesman of a product, like you mentioned, not necessarily of you, that allowed you to sell cars at a high level like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a general manager there who, he was one that you'd bring a customer over and he'd be rubbing on their leg and really got in rapport like instantly with these people. It's like he's been best friends with them forever. And he taught me the power of asking questions. It's a big one, saying telling isn't selling. Asking questions is how you sell. It's how you're the most effective salesman. So I learned how to pre-qualify people immediately. I learned how to find out their needs and wants and really what they were looking for, and then ask the question, okay, if I can do this, will you move forward? If you were able to get this car for this price, would you be able to move forward right now? Or what's preventing you from selling? Or what have you heard enough to make a decision? Are you ready to go? So there was a lot of questions that I learned from him and being in that sales industry that translated to the real estate side. So I credit him a lot, just the general manager of that dealership while I was there with helping me out and really honing in my sales skills. That way, when I got started in real estate, it was an easy decision for me that I only work with sellers in my business. I don't work with any buyers. I don't show any houses. So all of my business is me meeting with a seller at their property, or us having a phone call, or us doing a Zoom interview, and me just going through the same exact steps I was going through when somebody was selling a car, but this time it's to get the job to represent them and get their property sold.
Interesting. So as a quick aside for those listening, we broadcast this interview live in our GoBundance Ascend group. This is for aspiring millionaires. You can check that out, GoBundance.com/ascend. And there's a question in the group that we try to extract and bring to the guest that I also wanted to ask. And you started to touch on it a little bit, but what is it about that? Like, what are you doing in real estate? Because it's a hot market right now. So for you to be only with sellers, there's limited supply. You've been very successful in your market. Talk a little bit more, if you would, about what's made you successful. Get really tactical, if you could.
I will.
How have you gotten into that? Yeah.
You watch basketball at all?
I do sometimes. I have.
Tim Duncan. You ever hear the name Tim Duncan? Tim Duncan was a superstar, man, but all he really did was catch a ball, turn around, and hit the ball off the backboard and score. It was a real simple move. He wasn't fancy. He wasn't flashy, and that's 100% me in the real estate game. So all I do every single day is make a ton of phone calls. So I'm on the phones I get into the office every day at 5:30 in the morning. I pull my list for the day of people that I'm going to call, and I'm on the phones from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Monday through Friday. When I'm not on the phones, then I'm going out on appointments. And right now I'm searching for deals. I'm investing a lot in some other side businesses and in real estate. But when I first got started, I just cold called. I called expireds. I called withdrawals for sell by owners, all the different pillars, homeowners associations. But the integral part of that is I added them all to a database. And then I dripped on that database once a month. And then it became every 2 weeks. Now it's every week I'm dripping on that database some good information. I'm doing voicemail blasts to the database. I'm doing text blasts to the database. So I've now built a database that has over 16,000 people in our market that's constantly hearing from me every day. So my contacts can kind of scale down. But when I started, I made over 100 contacts a day. That's 100 people I talk to every single day on the phone because I didn't have any money. So for me, I had to make these phone calls because I wasn't spending the money on Google Ads or HomeLight or Zillow or some of these other sites that realtors were. So I did that, and it took my business. I sold 42 houses my first year, and then 88, and then 193. And every year since then, I've sold over 250 properties a year.
By yourself. This isn't a team.
By myself.
This is you.
Yeah, I have 2 assistants that are on my back end that I credit for everything, but I'm the only real estate agent. They're just my assistants on the backside. But yeah, we'll sell this year should be over 300 properties. I just looked this morning, we're 191 so far. And we got another 40 something pending and we still got the rest of the year to go. But it all started with me just making phone calls and me asking questions and me building value and building rapport and then adding them to a database and then growing it from there. So I've only been in business in real estate. 2015 was my first year.
6 years. And what do you think so I'm curious, why don't more realtors I'm sure you work with real estate agents who ask you that question, like, dude, how are you doing this? So what is the thing that prevents people from doing what you did? Or is it just, has that time passed? I don't think it has. It feels like it's fundamentals are fundamentals, like you said, but
Right.
Why don't people do that? What's the reason that
shiny object syndrome? There's a lot of shiny objects out there. So you can buy this lead or you can do this and get business. I think almost everything works. I mean, you could take out billboards all over town and you can get business from it. You can hold open houses and shoot, man, you could stand in front of Walmart today and hand out business cards to everybody who walks in, and it could work. I think you might get some business from it, but when I first started, Mike Ferry was a real estate coach that I really listened to and honed in on. And I went to a lot of Mike Ferry's events, and that's Mike Ferry's thing. You sit there, you sit on your butt and you make telephone calls every single day and you talk to enough people and then you get the formulas in your head. So for me, it was 1 out of 20 people I talked to became a listing. So once I had that formula, I knew what I had to talk to. And then it's gotten down to the point now it's 1 out of 3. 1 out of 3 is my ratio now. Every 3 people I talk to today, I'm going to get a listing from it. And every listing now is a sell almost. It's basically, it's 98 out of 100 in this current market. So then I can back in what my commission checks are from it. So I can really predict my vertical based on how many phone calls I make and the systems I've set up. And thankfully now I'm at a point where I get a lot of referral business or repeat business. So, I mean, these are just little freebies that come in. I don't really count them towards my business, but I've built the entire thing just based off of me on the phones Monday through Friday with 2 headsets on either side, 2 phones in front of me, and I just make calls.
What's the decision, if there is one, or what's the next step? Do you build a team? Do you hire realtors? What's the next phase for you? What do you envision?
Yeah, I mean, most agents would say that I'm a fool for not doing that already. But I really have my business really dialed in. This year, I've spent more time analyzing deals, hunting for businesses, doing my due diligence on big multifamily properties and commercial contracts. And like I said, we're looking at a couple of ancillary businesses tied to real estate. I feel like by far that's been the biggest part of my year, and I'm still going to sell 300 plus properties this year. So I feel like I have it automated to a point now where I really don't want to grow that end of it. I want to keep my vertical where it's at on that side and just let the vertical keep doing what it's doing. And I mean, hey, if I could get to the point at some point where I'm completely out of it and I'm just off repeat referral in my database business that's being generated, I think that'll do 125 to 150 deals a year without me picking up a phone. And that's a great vertical to have on the back end while I'm keep on building out my horizontal. So that's my plan. But many people would say that I should build a team or build a company, but it's just not the route that I'm on.
I like what you said before we started recording. You said, hey, look, I'm a simple guy. I'm not a complex guy or deep guy anyway. And I'm sure there's, that's not absolutely true. But to the point that you made, it's like, okay, this is simple. Call people, get on the phone with people, like do all of this work and build my database, and then, touch that database on a weekly, monthly, daily basis or whatever it might be. And now, like, hey, this works for me. I can kind of keep rolling. I don't need to build it any bigger. I don't need to be complex and deep on this. It's simple and it works for me. Let me ask you this. What on you do a lot of calls a day. How do you have any tactics because I know a lot of people are in sales, to get on and off the phone? Because I'm sure you can get pulled down, a 2-hour conversation if it allowed you to, right? Like, how do you do that without feeling like you're, kind of like transactional or cutting somebody off, like, being overly salesy, if you would, on that call?
Yeah. So, I mean, it just depends on the call, I guess, but I feel like you have as a salesman, you have complete power of the phone. So, I mean, if somebody starts wandering down a hall, I always just say, listen, I really appreciate, I'll just cut them off in the middle of the conversation of, hey, that's really great information. I really appreciate your time today. I have somebody tapping me on the shoulder, so I got to run. But before I get off this phone, kind of what does your next 3 months look like in the real estate market? When should I follow back up with you? If numbers made sense right now, could we go ahead and move forward? Do you have any time next week for us to get together? I'll ask whatever question I need to ask to then get the answer and get off the phone. But I always default towards that. But I feel like I'm always in ultimate control on a phone. That's where I feel, I guess, most comfortable. And yeah, I completely agree with you to that point. I feel like profitability is the most important thing. So for me, I wanted to build a model that I thought was extremely profitable. So to me, the model that I've built and the one that I'm on right now, my profitability is so high that I can't imagine running my business any other way.
Love it. All right. Well, let's dive into the one sheet questions. Yeah. We're going to go pillar by pillar. And I think we're going to be blown away by the 30-year-old Kevin Mills and how much he's accomplished already in his life. Let's start with the horizontal income pillar. What currently is your yearly horizontal income, and how many lines of income is that?
Yeah, so I have 17 lines of income. I might count it a little bit differently than most. I count each individual property as a different line because once I thought about it, if I take away a line, now I have one less line. It's not that one line really went down because I'm adding money somewhere else. So I have 17 lines. I have 14 single family houses. I have 2 duplexes, a 4-plex, and then I'm an LP in another syndication deal. That's an ATM deal that another member here turned me on to. Mm-hmm. It's doing gross this year. I should do about $384,000. My net on it should be about $188,000.
Okay, very cool. And what percentager does that make you?
5.7%.
5.7% is the percentage of horizontal income covering your expenses?
No, horizontal income as a percentage of my net worth.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Well, so where's net worth currently for you?
Yeah, my net worth is just over 3.25 million.
Got it. Okay. So your expenses in a year, you said your horizontal income is 188,000 essentially?
Yep.
Okay. So your expenses, are they higher or lower than that in a year?
They're lower right now. So I'm over 100% right now. By the way, do business, but that's not the way that I really want to live my life. Like I really want to live my life a little bit more lavishly than we're doing right now. I'm thankful that I have a great wife and a great family that's on the same vision as I am. So we live pretty modestly. We do what we want to do. We have great vacations but we're pretty conservative. You know, we've been in the same house that we originally had. We don't spend a ton of money on depreciating assets. I've really sold my wife on this vision of, hey, we're going to buy appreciating assets. We're going to buy cash flow positive assets. We're going to buy real estate. I just got into the self-storage business. We bought some self-storage facilities that I absolutely love. So that excites us more than anything else. So my goal is to get my net worth passively to around $500,000 a year. And then I want to start living a little bit more lavishly. So
what's lavish? Give me an idea. What does that mean?
Yeah, so right now we live in a house that I paid $242,000 for. It was a really good buy. It's worth probably around $400 right now. I want to live in a house on the waterway that's going to be closer to about $1.5 million. Right now I have a boat that's a $30,000 boat that we love and we enjoy going out. I want a $450,000-$500,000 boat. Just things like that. Second home by the lake. There's a lot of things that I want. I'm so good at delaying gratification. And I think a lot of it's my job. I've mastered repetitious boredom. That's all I do every day is I sit on the phones and I have the same real estate conversations with the same people. It's just a little bit variance in the conversation. So I've really learned how to delay that gratification on that. And so I'm excited about it once it finally comes. We still have a lot of fun. We still go all out when we go on vacations, but I'm definitely excited to hit kind of my goals on this end to be able to celebrate those big wins a little bit more.
I love that, man. Thank you for getting into that. Cause I always like to know, like, what's the vision? What's the dream? $1.5 million home on the lake and a $400,000 boat. Very, very cool. What percentage of your net worth is currently in real estate? It sounds like most of it, but give me an idea of that versus maybe some other asset classes, how you break that down.
Yeah, it's 80% in real estate, but really if you take out that 80%, the other 20% is really, it's cash. So it's not in real estate. It's on the side waiting to go into real estate. But basically all of my net worth is in real estate or it's being held in cash. Again, I have an ATM investment deal that I got in on, but that's not real estate, I guess. It's like a private property, I guess, investment. Sure. But other than that, it's all real estate.
And that's with the GoBundance member you mentioned? That's something that you can do with the GoBundance guy?
Yeah. I had a GoBundance guy bring me that deal, and it was a really good opportunity. But I'm lucky enough to be in the real estate industry, so I'm able to get deals that most people wouldn't be able to get. So none of the deals I bought have been on market. They've all been from people who were in my database or people I've talked to or somebody who's brought them to me and they've had high motivation. So I mean, for me, if I can't buy it at 70% of market value, I won't buy it. So everything I bought's been 70% or below market value.
Wow, that's amazing. I love the kind of the theme of you, which is, like you said, delayed gratification, simple, what would you say, boring repetition or whatever. I love the themes that present how you're building wealth so rapidly, especially. There's not a lot of secret. You're not doing anything crazy or like, I invented this or I invented that. You're just steady. Yep. That's the word, right? All right, let's jump over to age defying health. What is your current body weight and body fat percentage? Yeah,
so this is the one that I'm really focused on this year. I played rugby in college, and I've always been an athlete that was like a bigger position. I was tight end back in high school. But I mean, I used to eat 10,000 to 12,000 calories a day back in college. So I graduated and I had kids and I kept eating 10,000 calories a day, but I didn't do any workouts. So I gained about 85 pounds that first year that I was married. And really for the last year, I've been on a big goal. So I'm at like 236 right now is my weight, which is still big. I really want to be down to 215, but I started out this year at like 269. So I'm down a good amount this year. So I'm down like 30 pounds.
What do you attribute that to? What did you do differently? How did you get 30 pounds down? It's huge.
Yeah, it was honestly, it was just a big mental shift for me. I mean, I used to eat breakfast and then there was a meal before lunch and then there was lunch and then there was dinner and then there was a meal after dinner. It was just the way that I've always eaten. I guess I burned so many calories as a kid, you know, I just didn't grow up from it. It was just the mentality from me. I always remember going back in college. I mean, we used to have a Pizza Hut right next to a Chick-fil-A at the University of South Carolina. And I'd go get 2 chicken sandwich meals and I'd get 2 pizzas and a breadsticks and we'd eat it in one sitting. I mean, it would just be obscene calories that we ate. And I just felt like I needed to, it was stupid justification. But now I'm just a little bit more serious about my health and we have kids now. So you have to realize we're living for them. We have to be more health conscious for them. So every day I'm at the gym at 4:20 in the morning. Thankfully, I have a really good accountability guy who meets me there every morning. So we work out Monday through Friday at the gym at 4:20.
What's the workout? Is it weights, cardio, mix of the two?
Yeah, it's like a HIIT exercise. So we'll do like cardio, just short bursts. Like we might do like 0.5 miles at like an 8, and then we'll go do chest. And then between exercise, we'll hop back on the treadmill for like 0.25 sprints or like 0.45 sprints. So that's basically what it is. I just got a Peloton like 3 weeks ago. So I've been hitting that up. Me and my wife are doing Peloton exercises now, man, and that thing will burn you.
Yeah. I love spinning. It's the only way I can eat pizza as much as I do. Spinning is an amazing exercise, and I like the quotes from the instructors as well. What about diet now? And if you touched on it, I apologize, but I don't know if I heard, like, do you have any sort of specifics in your diet that you're following right now?
Yeah, I'm doing intermittent fasting. It's basically, I'm doing 12 to 7 I can eat. So 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. I can eat, and all other times I can't. It doesn't really sound like that big of an area, but it really has helped. You know, I think it's really shaved down a lot of my time. So for breakfast, I'm just drinking a lot of water, and then at lunchtime, I'll have a good lunch. I'm trying to stay away from the carbs. My wife's gluten-free, so she definitely helps me out a lot because she can't eat anything with gluten in it. So her cooking or anything, it's usually a little bit more healthy. So it's just trying to cut out the carbs, cut out the fried food.
Good for you. Good for you. Tough, but good for you. So we talked about your family, your wife. You've been married, it sounds like, what, about 9 years, 9 years at this point?
Yep. We have our 8th anniversary in a month.
Yeah. And my wife and your wife connected in Nashville, and she still chats to this
highly
day.
of her.
Yeah, same. My wife loves yours. So, kids, how old are your kids now, and what are they into? What's big on the family list of things to do with the kids?
Yeah, I got a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, about to be 8 and 6 in 2 months. And they're really big into soccer right now. They're just now starting the whole soccer. My wife's a soccer mom now. She's posting about it every day. They're doing like private lessons, which is really cool to watch them develop there. My oldest is really into art. My youngest is really into gymnastics and sports. So they're kind of 2 different directions. But we got super blessed, man. We have the best behaved kids I could ever ask for. I mean, they're the sweetest girls in the world. Thankfully, they still run to me and give me a huge hug when I get home. They still want to cuddle up next to me. And the oldest one has a phone that she could just text me and her mom off of. And I would say every day she sends me 30 texts just saying, I love you, and heart emojis and this and that. So I really got blessed with that, man.
Very cool. That's amazing. Blessed. How about life happiness? What's your life happiness index currently?
What
area are you working on most?
Yeah, I'm at 8.55. So I'm pretty happy. I'm really happy, actually. So for me, I just always try to, I have grateful exercises that I do almost hourly, just to remind myself of how grateful and how blessed I am. So that's really helped me out a lot. A lot of like Abraham Hicks. I don't know if you've heard of Abraham Hicks.
I've gone to see her live. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Him thing, it live, whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So it definitely goes down a rabbit hole that I don't go down, but the principles of it, I absolutely love. And some of the things she says blows my mind. It has me thinking for a day on her quotes.
Dude, we went to Chicago to see her, and I said that to my wife. I'm like, I wish the theater. It was just maybe me, but like, I wish the theater, like the whole snapping into this thing or whatever.
Yeah, dude.
It's amazing value that she puts out through whatever she's channeling. So I don't. The alter ego thing, I get a little bit lost in, like, the name of source or whatever. But her message is unbelievable. And to your point, I got a ton out of it. I just struggled a little bit with the. And as an aside, my wife met her in the bathroom, and
Oh, wow.
wasn't a great experience. But
Really?
she actually took
Yeah.
it to stage and explained away the way she behaved to my
No
wife and another
way.
woman that she bumped into in the bathroom. So,
Wow.
story for another day.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, for sure. But no, I completely agree with you on that end.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny that it came up. So.
Yeah, and a lot of Tony Robbins things. So I'm big on doing his meditation every morning. I try to do it at least 3 to 5 days a week. What he does to kind of meditate and start his day. I forgot what it's called. Priming. Yeah, priming. Yeah. I do it every single day, just a quick one, like a 5-minute. And man, it does make a huge difference in my mind.
All right, what is your target? Do you have a target or that you give back percentage wise, or dollars or time or anything like that?
Last year was horrible, man. And I felt super bad about it. I still feel super bad about how bad I did last year, just with COVID and everything going. I had a lot of uncertainties, and I guess I just channeled that to not giving back as much as I should have. I'm so lucky that I have a wife. So my wife doesn't work. She's a full-time mom, which is a job that I couldn't do. And I think that's beyond a full-time job is being a stay-at-home mom and stay-at-home wife. She does so much for us. But thankfully, she has a heart of gold. So hers is all giving back. So I can really go through a lot with her. She does like a backpack program at the high school and middle schools where like kids that can't afford like first day of school supplies and like shirts and pants and jackets. She actually is over that for like the middle school. So she's done a lot with that. That's been just a huge contribution to me. We'll meet the kids at Target and I'll bring some friends and we'll buy a lot of stuff for them. And that's super cool to do. So, I mean, that's probably the biggest thing that we do to give back that I really love doing. We tithe to the church, not as much as we should. I really feel like doing things like that. My brother's a pastor. He doesn't do that well financially, but spiritually, man, he is at the top of the world. So for him, like we're paying for his son's preschool and daycare. I count that as like a contribution and a giving back that really means a lot to me. So for me, I'm just trying to find other ways to give back where mentally I can kind of see where it's going. And I feel like we're making an impact instead of just throwing money at stuff. So thankfully my wife with what she's doing with kids and what I'm doing with my brother and other things that we have going on that's where I like to throw the money, but it wasn't as much as I thought. I think last year it was like 2.8% is what I gave. So this year I'm trying to be a lot closer to 10%.
I love it, man. That's great. I do think that more guys need to give themselves credit for those interfamilial give backs, like the preschool and daycare and that sort of thing. I mean,
awesome,
your parents, I'm sure, I don't know. It sounds to me, maybe I'm assuming your parents living locally now. I'm sure there's some assistance you're providing there as far as them being there. You know what I mean? Like, so within the family, the amount that you give back, the time that you give back is big. So take more credit.
Yeah.
Take more credit. Let's jump over to accountability. So we were talking a little bit, you have a Gopod that's sort of transitioning to a new Gopod. Talk to me a little bit about that. Like what's the Gopod transition plan for you? And what are you getting out of that?
Yeah, so I'm in a great Gopod right now. A bunch of really good guys. I've had Matt Brigna's in it, who does a lot of farming and crop dusting. Adam Jason, who is our coffee guy at Atlanta. I know I saw you there in Atlanta. You were doing that Pat Hyman sheet with us by the pool that one day. Yes. And we kind of connected. And I have Ludwig, who's up in New York. So everybody's in kind of a different industry and kind of doing different things. So it's really good for us to connect. And really the biggest thing we talk about is how can we be better husbands and better fathers. That's probably the bulk of our conversations is how do we show our wives that we really cared about them this week, and how do we show our kids that we really care about them, and how do we best support our wives and children. That's one thing that's kind of been a big conversation for us, and we bring up business and where we're at, and if we have any challenges, obviously we go back and forth with them. But one great thing about our pod is we're not trying to sell each other on each other's ideas or anything. We're just trying to be better men and better husbands and better family guys. So our conversations get pretty deep.
Yeah. Well, to your point, I've said this to people that are thinking about like GoBundance, like the financial aspect. Like I get that there's a minimum net worth, so it feels like there's a big focus there. But to your point, somebody brings you an ATM deal, cool. Yeah, let's roll with it. But I'm more interested in the man I'm trying to be, right? The husband, the father, those aspects of it. So I think that's really, really well said. I appreciate you sharing that. Let's talk about GoBundance trips. You were in Atlanta. I think you were in Tahoe as well. What do you take away from those meetings, those trips? What's the why do you do them? What do you get from them?
Yeah, so I've only done the champions event. So I've yet to go to like a GoBundance event. Steamboat will be the first one, and I'm going to be there for a while. I'm doing the fan abundance, I'm doing the champions, and I'm doing the regular event. So we're going to be in Steamboat for a while. So I'm starting to get my family involved. For me, it's just surrounding myself with like-minded men. I mean, I feel like there came a point where in life where everybody's rooting for you to do well, and then you hit a certain point where people don't want you to do that much better than right here. And it's usually like where they are, where they aspire to be, and then you start getting resented as you go past that. And for me, it was really probably the million mark or the 2 million mark, or income wise, vertical income. I've been doing over, this year should be somewhere close to about 1.65. I've been over $1 million the past few years on vertical, and you start getting a little blowback from people you surround yourself with. So for me, I wanted to be around guys who celebrated that, because I've always celebrated people who did really well. So I started kind of getting some pushback or some kind of snarky remarks from groups that I was part of. And I really wanted to be part of guys that celebrated that, but also wanted to push higher. So for me, it's not hitting 5 million or 10 million or 25 million. I want to get to 75. I want to get to $100 million. So I know money's not everything, but they are goals of mine, hitting those net worths. So for me, I just wanted to be surrounded myself with people who were trying to get on the same path that I am. And thankfully, I found GoBundance, and I've met guys that want to be better fathers too, and better husbands and better business people along the way, but also built some great relationships. John White and I just got back from Kiowa Island, where both of us took our family and our kids down there. And man, we had an awesome time. And I don't think we talked about business. We didn't talk about business one time. We just let the kids be kids, and we just shared similar values. So it was just such a great time.
That's amazing. Yeah, he's an incredible guy. Incredible guy. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
how about your past 3 greatest hits? What are your past 3 greatest hits that you consider?
Yeah, in February of this year, we took our kids to St. John, and we went out on a 2-day snorkeling trip. We basically rented like a private little mini yacht, a little catamaran that took us all around the Virgin Islands. So we went snorkeling with the kids, and that's definitely one of them. You're talking about vacations, right?
Anything that you want to talk about. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. 3 biggest hits. Yeah, I'll take that as one. So that was really cool. So we went snorkeling with them. It was great to see the kids jump off the boat. We saw a bunch of eagle rays. We saw some sharks. We saw some dolphins. So it was cool kind of getting them in the water down there. And we're boat people. We love to be on a boat. So that was probably one of them. 2 years ago, we sat courtside at a bunch of NBA games, which is really cool. I got to see some of my favorite athletes up close, and I've always wanted to experience that, which is good. And greatest hits. For not last year, but the year before that, I was the number 1 agent in the world with Century 21 for a number of properties sold. And that was a huge goal of mine when I first got started in the industry. So that was a pretty big hit for me. But basically what I learned from that is it's great to be in some circles that are there, but you really don't get anything for being at the top. You know, it's really about what you make it in the circles you run yourself with. For me, I thought that something magical was going to happen when I hit that number, and I really worked myself to death to get it. I remember watching the sheets every day to make sure that nobody was kind of getting close, or I'd have to work harder or work weekends or missed events. But really what I took away from that after kind of the dust settled from it, it's all about who you become kind of on the journey and not the destination. And I didn't like who I was becoming on that journey. So this year I'm set to do even better than I did that year, but I'm having a lot more fun on my journey. So I'd say that was a big hit from what I learned from it, and not really the accomplishment.
Yeah, that's incredible. Again, being only 30 years old now, that's a ton of wisdom for you to extract and understand. At your age, especially $100 million in net worth, it feels like it's inevitable, right? Yeah, because you're around the right people, you're extracting wisdom from everything that you do, and you're thoughtful about what the next step is for you. So really cool, man. I appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely.
Let's wrap this up with a random question from the GoBundance card game. And I say random, I did look a little bit and tried to find one that I thought was interesting. So Ace of Hearts is the question, or is the card. And the question is, who would you, I like this question. Who would you call if you had to dispose of a body?
Who would I call? My friend Reese Grant from college. And he would do it in a heartbeat. It's so fun, man. That is such a funny card. Because I always tell my friends, I'm that guy. If you called me at 2:00 in the morning and I heard my phone and I answered, if you told me, yo, be outside with a shovel in 2 minutes, I would do it. with no questions asked for my friends. So I always think I'm loyal. I'm super loyal to my friends and kind of the guys that are in my tribe, which is why I gravitate towards GoBundance so well. And it's where it's kind of that sports connections, like my rugby friends in college, we were that tight, and back in high school, my sports friends. So now GoBundance, I feel like I have a bunch of guys that I do the same with, but I feel like I probably got 15 names on that list that I think I could call, and they'd be outside with a shovel just ready for me, which is pretty funny.
Well, hopefully you never have to go through that. But
do you have somebody that came to your mind?
I don't think so. Oh, that would dispose of a body. Yeah, my buddy Brett out in California. He's a he's a corrections officer, and he's always been just enough crazy to do that stuff. And we've always, to your point, we've known each other for 30 years now, and we've always got each other's back. And that would be the guy. The guy I think of to call. Yeah.
I always share a story with my friends that if I called a bunch of my friends here locally, I told them, hey man, I need you to come over with a shovel and we need to dig a ditch next to my house because I need the water to go away from my house and we got to get this drainage right. All my friends would say, dude, can't you just hire somebody to do that? Or like, man, I am not getting out there. Can we just pay somebody to do it? Like, I'm down to help you out if you need payment, but they wouldn't come over and do it. But if I called them up and I said, hey man, there's a village down in Guatemala, and they need us to fly down there and we have to dig a trench, and we got to dig a 10-foot wide trench so these kids can get fresh water. Every single one of them be on a plane the next day. And I'm thankful to have relationships like that where when things matter, or when it comes down to it and they serve a purpose, I have a good group of guys, and it just continues to grow with the more guys that I meet, especially in this crew, that I could call up and we can change some lives together.
Yeah, 100%. I love that's really well said and a great way to end this. How can people learn more about you, maybe contact you, whatever you want to put out there, social media handles, whatever it is?
Yeah. So, man, I'm really not on social media. Again, I'm super simple. So I consume a little bit on social media, but I haven't posted anything, I think, since 2018 on social media. So, I mean, the best way, my email is kevinmillsteam@gmail.com. It's the best one to get a hold of me on. If you're in GoBundance, you have my cell phone number because it's on the GoBro Connect page. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to give back however I can on this side, and would love to be a resource.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you being on. Thanks so much. Good connecting with you again. Great seeing you recently in Atlanta, and I'll see you in Steamboat. So good.
Sounds good, man. Talk soon.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let us know down in the comments, and make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can be informed on the next episode and other content right here on this channel. Thank you.